Here we go. Okay, we're live.
Hey,
Now you can hit. Now you can hit
you got to put
mute.
the
Put
you
mute
got to
on your
put our
YouTube
new
there.
opening song, Jim, on a lot of
Yep,
this
yep,
stuff.
yep. But first, let us show what the swag we have on today. Look at
What's
this. Look at this.
behind door number
Look,
one?
look at me and Alan. We didn't even talk. We
We
didn't
didn't
even
even
talk
talk.
about
Hold
We
on,
this.
just
ready?
Nothing.
Ready?
Go, go.
there you go. There you
Oh,
go.
there it is. Go, Alan. Go, go.
That's a fair trade.
Our wonderful bods.
I'll show you mine if you show me yours.
Oh, oh. Yeah.
All right. Here on the Metal Voice, we are at 1993. We made it.
I just got one question, Jimmy.
Yes.
Jackie Long. He says this is getting harder and harder. I'm not sure what he's referring to, and I'm a little
I think
scared
it's a
to
woman. I
find
think
out.
it's a woman. Yes.
Oh,
I think that refers to the music's getting difficult as we approach these
okay.
90s selections
Yes.
here.
Because I had a really bad visual of something else.
So behind the scenes, me and Alan were fighting. So I go, Alan, help me with the list. And Alan's saying, no, Jimmy, I'm not helping you with this list this year. I'm writing it off. Let's skip 93 to 94. And we're arguing back and forth. And then Todd's getting, guys, I'm fed up of your fighting. I'm fed up of your fighting. And me and Alan, we just couldn't stop arguing about this. And Alan at one point just took the list and like threw it at my face. That's just the background. I'm just giving the background. This is just the
Hey,
background.
That's not the way I recall it, but we'll go with that.
But was the list in French? Wouldn't want you to get fined.
It was this much bigger than the English version.
That's right. That's
Oh,
right.
I can't hear. I couldn't hear.
Kalispera, Todd, Jimmy, and Alan.
I don't hear you.
You don't hear me?
We
Mic
hear
check,
you.
mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
There we
Hear
go.
you.
Okay, we're good. All right.
It said my internet connection was unstable.
Oh,
Are you at the office?
I'm sitting in my kitchen.
Okay. That could qualify as an office somewhere.
On
we've
my
been there.
taxes.
We've all
it is.
had that happen, Todd. Don't feel bad.
All right,
Take a
here we
break.
go, guys. You guys ready for this? A lot of excitement because this is the darkest time in metal. This might be absolutely the worst year in metal history. There's probably a few more. Grunge is exploding right now, right? And metal, everyone's just firing the metal bands. They're throwing them off the labels. Meanwhile, the metal bands are running for cover to South America because that's where the fans are still it's picking up a lot of steam there. South America is really brewing. I remember that time, bands moving on there because they're not getting any traction in North America. Todd, what do you remember from that era?
Companies are running off like rats in a sinking ship. They're getting rid of the metal flagships. They're all jumping overboard.
Yeah. And
I remember in 93, what I would have put me at 19. I graduated high school. I think, I don't know if I was playing in a band at 93. Yeah, probably 93, 94. I picked back up playing in a band, doing the whole club thing. And that was when one of my really good friends who we used to listen to Iron Maiden together and Megadeth, and he shows up in his Mazda RX-7. He had a killer sound system in his car. And I saw this Nirvana sticker on his back hatch glass. And I went, dude, what? And he's like, oh yeah, you got to hear this new record. I'm like, come on, dude. We were just listening to Seventh Son and this thing, and now you're cranking Smells Like Teen Spirit. This is awful. And yeah, the whole scene was changing. And, part of me was like kind of happy because a lot of that super saturated hair metal.
that's a good point. That's a very good point.
It was like,
it became so saturated. Just too much hairspray. The ozone layer was depleting at that time. Remember? Acid Rain.
It just became so much about the look and everyone looking like a girl, and it was just kind of like, it was pretty lame, dude. And this was a really tough time in music and for metal. So yeah, I totally remember this time.
And I mean, the big question, is this metal or not, really is going to play a role here, right? Because
You know what? I think I started delving into a little bit more of the death metal because I was so into the thrash thing, and that was still really big here in Tampa. And we used to have a radio station called 98 Rock, and they would play a show at night called The Pit, and they would play all the really brutal stuff that you wouldn't get in the normal peak hours. And so I started listening little bit more to death metal and a little more extreme stuff, just to explore some new things, because I had already heard everything from all my favorite bands. Maybe they didn't have a record out that year, and it was like, okay, what else can I listen to? Because I wasn't really feeling a lot of what was happening.
That is a very good point. Death
Well
metal
said.
was
Well
sort
said.
of coming up, right? It was kind of coming up the ranks.
Yeah.
Sorry, Alan, what'd you say?
I think Todd explained that very well. I mean, I
Good
think
job.
93, 94, 95, possibly all the way to 98, we're going to have the same conversation. So
Are
Yeah.
there even? Do you have your book there, Martin Popoff's book, Alan?
I've got the Bible. I'm anxious to see how this
Is
plays
there
out. with the
actually
Bible.
any albums in the in Martin Popoff's book? We'll find out right now. Let's start things off, guys. I'm not sure what current version of the list you have, but I'm going to start things off with number. Now this is basically
This is Jimmy's list, guys.
this is Tool, and this is a sort of like a fan vote. Tool being sold 3 million copies of Undertow, right? Big band, bordering metal, hard rock, but massive. And then you have a band like Gravedigger, The Reaper, German, thrash, speed, a brilliant album, but it didn't even dent. It didn't even dent the charts or anything because it was out of fashion. But they were playing hard, thrashing speed metal. So on one hand, you had a band that really isn't metal but is metal, who sold all kinds, a sign of the times, and then you have another band who's pulling out a real metal album that no one's paying attention to, but a brilliant album nevertheless. Guys, thoughts? Or you don't care?
You know what? I was never a Tool fan. I really respect them as artists. I really respect what they do, but I've tried to get into it, and there might be a groove. I mean, the drummer's amazing. Like they're a killer band.
Yeah.
It's just not my cup of tea, and so I don't own a Tool record. I probably never will. It's just not my thing. Again, no disrespect to the band because they're great at what they do. It just isn't my thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Alan, what do you think about Tool? I know
I
what you think
second that
about Tool.
emotion.
All right. So did you guys have a chance to and again, Gravedigger, here's a band that's like friggin' probably one of their best albums. Pure metal, thrash, everything we love about metal and gruffy vocals and all that. Yet it doesn't even dent. It doesn't even
Lots of
register.
albums.
I mean, yeah, they were popular in Germany, but I'm just saying it just didn't explode like Tool did because it was a sign of the time. So that's why I put them together. One with quality metal and the other one sort of big. So everybody else, you tell us, Tool or Gravedigger? Tool or Gravedigger?
They're so apples and oranges, but I mean, there's no doubting, no denying that Gravedigger is a true metal band. We played with when I was in Crimson Glory. We played the Carmageddon Festival in Norway, and Gravedigger played with us. And I mean, they're a great band live, and they're just a true classic metal band. So in the style of metal, I don't even think you can compare the music of Gravedigger and Tool. So I would have to go.
Right off the bat, Electric Circus is saying Gravedigger. That's Rich Hall. Jackie saying not Tool, which I would think that's Gravedigger. And Darcy, 6 Strings, 9 Lives, Gravedigger all the way.
Yeah.
Love both, says Melissa. 2 very different bands, but you got to pick one. You
I
got to
would
pick
pick-
one.
I
There
would
can only
pick
be number
Gravedigger.
1, number 10.
So Tool made the top 500.
Of course,
What did
they
you guys guess? What position?
I would say 300.
I'm gonna say between 80 and 175.
Wow. Todd, 168. Came in at number 168. Todd was on.
Look at that.
Wow.
Is Gravedigger even in there?
No, not no.
See what I mean? But you know what? This is like, again, it's that book is like a consensus or a census thing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people, unless you're really into metal, you don't even know who Gravedigger is.
But guys, I think the record companies had a lot of, I didn't even know Gravedigger was still around in '93. Yet Tool probably got all kinds of promotion
Of course.
because of the sound of that album at that time.
And this is exactly what the time represented. A band like Gravedigger cracking out great metal, getting ignored.
Yeah.
Not this, and then you had Tool, which was popular. All right, Carlos says Gravedigger. Ben says Todd has the book.
I don't have
I'm
the
assuming
book.
has the book. Tim says Gravedigger. I think it's a consensus. Gravedigger will take the 10th position because Tool at the end of the day isn't really that metal. It's really not my thing either. I tried.
And hello to everyone that's in the comments and watching the show. Hi, Ben. I know Ben Laird. Awesome guy. So he says, AKA popularity contest. I mean, look, yeah, Tool was huge. I mean, now when they play, they took a big hiatus forever, I think, and then they came back and they're playing, arenas, and they're massive.
And Melissa has conceded Gravedigger, not Tool. So good on you. I would put Gravedigger. That would be my vote, but I had to pair them up.
Guys, don't lose any sleep over it tonight, guys?
Yeah. All right. So
let's go. Moving on. Let's go get the graphics ready. We've seen this. Number 9. Boom. Right out of Brazil. Chaos AD Sepultura. Now, as things were falling apart in North America, South America was exploding with metal. And this is a testament to the music that was sort of taken off there. Sepultura, they were kind of like, that's their peak. It's the album they're known for, and it's still known for. You got a little bit of that thrash, you got a little bit of that gruff, and you got a lot of that, what do you want to call it? What's that band there? Pantera. And you got a lot of that Pantera sound happening. So you couldn't have a top 10 list without Sepultura's Chaos AD. An album that the band still tours and plays, and even the Cavalero brothers, they're going around playing that album.
Yeah, in those, when they would play Headbangers Ball, and they were playing a lot of Sepultura, and not really like what was the popular thing, but they were breaking out like more underground cult followed bands. And then Sepultura they were really big around this time too. I remember this kid that I went to high school with wore a Sepultura shirt.
Stiff Rod. That was Alan's band.
And I was like, what's that band? I don't know, never heard of them in high school. And he was like, oh dude, you got to check them out. And that was a little bit, I wasn't quite into that sound yet, but I was listening to Testament and Overkill, and but the vocal was more of a brutal vocal than I was kind of into at the time. But yeah, I mean, they were definitely rising up and doing their thing.
They took hold of the flame, and they were one of the bands that carried it on, even though, like we said, metal was starting to be at a low. We have to give hats off to Sepultura, because they grabbed the flame and they carried that torch until the next guys came along. So
right.
Yeah, I mean, think of a song like Refuse Resist, this protest march song. And you know what? They infused a lot of that Brazilian tribal drumming into their sound, right? And so they really captured something new, when metal was sort of dying around the world, and it excited people.
Yeah.
So
I mean, even go ahead,
Todd.
Alan.
No, go ahead.
Well, even Slayer had done that. I remember hearing an interview with Kerry King, and there was a record that they did that was a lot more groove oriented. It was like a shift from what Slayer was kind of normally doing. And he's like, just talking about the groove. They did kind of a musical shift to try something different. But yeah, I mean, like the Roots, Bloody Roots, got that whole tribal, you're talking about that tribal element, those percussive elements. And, they were definitely a band that wasn't going away, and they're still touring today. So there you go.
So true or false? This album made the top 100.
I'll say false.
True. I say true on this one.
I say false.
Well, let's see what everybody else has to say.
Drum roll.
True or false? Did Sepultura, Chaos AD, make the top 100 list in Martin Popoff's book?
The
Come on, people.
answer is, drum roll,
False.
Jimmy's
You
right.
got-
It's true. It
It's
comes
true.
in
I
at
knew
number
it.
94.
There you
94.
go. Look at that. 94. Wow. Look at that.
I'm surprised.
Yeah. Oh, you know what?
Hey,
It stood the
Alan.
test of time.
Yeah.
You know how you were talking about that festival
Yeah.
that we're playing with Sammy Hagar?
Mhm.
So it's called the Blue Ridge. I think it's called the Blue Ridge Festival. No, this is Pain in the Grass. Sorry, Pain in the Grass. And our tour manager just who you met, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He said Tenacious D is playing
Nice.
the day at Blue Ridge with us.
Oh, right.
Our tour manager that walked you back, his cousin is Jack Black.
Oh, cool.
So I need
Jack
to tell
Black.
him.
By the way, Jack Black has been on the Metal Voice. Just a little reference here.
Really?
Yes, he's been interviewed by Neil Turbin on the Metal Voice.
That's cool. I
Yes,
love Jack
yes.
Black.
Jack
That guy's
Black
awesome.
has been interviewed on the Metal.
And I
Go check
love
it out.
Tenacious D.
Type in the Metal Voice, Jack Black. It's there. You betcha. All right, ready for number 8, fellas?
Yeah, sure.
I would love to meet Jack Black. I think he's
Me
hilarious.
too.
By the way, I think he's hilarious.
I would have to do some singing back and forth with him because I
Oh.
know a lot of that early Tenacious D. Dip my toes in jacuzzi, baby. Give it a little stretch and a bend.
What was it? The Golden Pick? What was that movie called?
The Pick of Destiny.
Glory. Pick of Destiny. That was it right there.
All right.
Dio.
That was a tough watch.
He says Dio has rocked for a long, long time. Now it's time for him to pass the torch. Okay, so
Wonder Boy. Okay, here we go. All right, let's get to
Alan,
it.
let's have Alan do number 8.
Alan's going to do number 8, and here it is.
I mean,
Rush counterpart.
like it was, counterparts. Yeah, I mean, I was having enough problems to come up with one, and Jimmy had all these great ideas. And I said, well, look, if we're going to go that way, I might as well throw Rush on. Back to basics, getting less keyboards. You know, they were trying something new. The band itself didn't think they quite succeeded on this album, but it led them into Test for Echo. Leave That Thing Alone. Neil always thought that was the best instrumental that they ever wrote. Nobody's Hero was a great song. Stick It Out. I mean, just that riff is a true metal riff. It's nice to get them back to more of a trio sounding, stripped down version of Rush. And but the band found it had mixed results. So
You know what's surprising, Alan, on that Strombo interview that he just did with Rush, Geddy Lee keeps saying we were a heavy metal band. We were, like, he refers to himself as a heavy metal band, even though they don't. Rush. Geddy Lee says, Rush was a heavy metal band.
no,
He keeps
is it my
referring to
favorite Rush album? No, but again, we're talking 1993. I think it deserves to be on the list. So
Yeah. Okay, we
You know
give you
what?
that one.
If their guitars were more distorted,
Mm-hmm.
I could, because if you start saying, well, the drumming was this, you could say, okay, well, Dream Theater's drumming is that, and you say, well, it had very progressive this and that. Okay, well, there's metal that has that, and he had clean singing, and there's singers that are clean. But if you added the a little more of a chunky guitar, perhaps. But I never considered them a metal band at all.
Let me ask you guys this question, just off topic. Define heavy metal. It's not that
That's
easy.
so hard to do.
It's not.
It's
It's
so hard to
Give
do.
me
30-minute
one
show.
sentence. Give me one sentence that defines heavy metal.
Dude, I can't.
It
It's like
can't be
anything.
vocals. It can't be
No, but
vocals,
it
right?
progresses, Jimmy. It's like any form of music. There's a progression. It changes. Like you said, Quiet Riot was considered, Metal Health, the first metal album. Well, you can't compare that to stuff that was happening, the thrash scene in the late 80s, man.
The reason,
Just think of one sentence or one line that would define heavy metal. You just can't.
You
just
can't, because here's the thing. What was metal to us in the early 80s, somebody today would listen to that and go, that's not metal, because their understanding of their idea of what metal is not that, right? We've all agreed when we joke about, well, if we put our 1989 hat on, then, you have to think about it in the context of that era. So You can't do that. And if you go, well, it's all about attitude. Well, then Eminem belongs in the right.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, then where does it end if everybody has attitude? I mean, it's like.
Do you know what? Do you know what the Junos define, and maybe even the Grammys to a certain extent, they define heavy metal or metal as loud guitars. That's the only common denominator. Loud distorted guitars is the only common denominator in metal.
I think so. The White Stripes.
It's not the
Suzette,
singing,
hold on.
it's not the drumming, and it's not the bass playing or the lyrics. It could be anything.
So Suzette Gentry, she's a sweetheart.
Okay.
Headbanging music is metal.
What about Dream Theater? Is that
that's a good
headbanging
one.
music?
If it gets you going like this, like
But
at,
what if you put on Metropolis? Does that do that? I don't think so.
I mean, you can't sum it up.
It's tough, isn't it? That's why I tossed it
pretty
out
good.
there.
I
It's
like
a riddle. It's a riddle. That's what it is.
Because
it's a
look,
riddle.
you could say Tool has these elements, and then you say, well, based on this definition of whatever, that's metal. But Tool, it's almost like something you can't really put your finger on, but when you hear it, you go, that's metal, or you're like, that's not metal.
I think it's loud guitars, and that's pretty much it. You know,
Look,
loud.
Stevie Ray Vaughan had loud guitars.
yeah, exactly. The White Stripes have loud guitars.
Yeah, the
distorted
Beastie
loud
Boys
guitars.
had loud guitars.
I like this. Metal is a more aggressive form of hard rock. Okay, so what's hard rock then? A riddle, another riddle, a riddle within a riddle.
Well, hold on. Roads to Madness, a song from Queensrÿche. See what I'm saying? There's so many peaks and valleys and little things that go on with this music. I don't know how to do that.
Isn't it? It's a great riddle, isn't it? We all know what heavy metal is, but we can't define it. We cannot define it. It's just bizarre. Okay, here we go. All right. I just thought I'd toss that out there as a riddle and as a fun little thing. Okay, here we go. Number
7.
Number 7. Okay, here's
think
one
that's
for
me.
Todd. Oh, here we go. War of Words. Fight. Rob Halford. Lee's Priest comes out with Fight.
Into the pit. Into the pit.
He didn't, I would have liked you coming on stage and sing maybe one song.
Hello.
Wouldn't that have been amazing?
Call me Rob.
Call me.
It would have been
Epic.
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I think this is really a record of its time.
I can tell this little story.
Okay.
So, we went out with Priest on this tour. You guys were there.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you to everybody who came out and saw that. But I have a little funny story talking about going out on stage with them or whatever. Hold on, I'm trying to move. Where did your video go of us? Why is it? There we go. So their stage, this is for the audience, their stage manager said that if I wanted to maybe push the motorcycle out or whatever when Rob's on it with all the smoke and all this stuff. And I was like, if I get to do that, I'm just going to hop over the sissy bar and hold on. I said, all right, bitch, on the back of the bike. And it was this whole big joke. And I was like, okay, well then what? I'm just going to be on stage with Rob Halford with no mic. I'll just be like a streaker across the stage.
Yeah.
Anyway, Fight. That record, I fell in love with that record. I remember Craig, my buddy Craig Blackwell, we were like, dude, this record's coming out. Halford's got another band called Fight. This is going to be amazing. I was in a band. In fact, we used to cover the song that goes
Into the Pit.
Laid to Rest? I don't have the track list.
Life in Black.
Oh.
Life in Black.
Yeah. So we used to cover that in the band that we were in. I was playing drums. And it was just this stripped down, raw thing. And it was just like a really pure, true metal thing. And it was awesome. And you can obviously hear that influence on Sponsored by my record. You can hear that influence. You can hear that influence because I was such a big fan of that record. And yeah, so that was a really nice surprise when that record came out. I still love it to this day.
You know what I should do? I should play. Alan, do you have anything to add about Fight?
I think out of the whole list we have here today, with the possible exception of Tool, this album is really an album of its time. This takes me back to '93 when I listened to it. You know, it's got that dark tone. Yes, Rob's voice is great as usual.
Killer.
Immortal Sin's a great song.
Oh, I love that song.
For All Eternity is a great song.
Oh, that's one of my favorites.
You know, but again, and Satchel. Hey, Satchel of Steel Panthers playing guitar, right? So.
Yeah. Russ Parrish.
Scott Travis does an incredible job on drums.
Oh yeah,
it's really got that whole tone that you say, okay, this is from the early '90s. This sound. So.
And totally. I mean, it's Priest meets Pantera again. You could see how Pantera is sort of mixing that music's mixing with metal, and industrial's coming out, and death metal's coming out, and it's just all sort of brewing and organically changing into something else, right?
Yeah,
that we still can't define.
We still, yeah. And you know what? I encourage people in one sentence, try to define, as we go through the show, try to define in a sentence what heavy metal is.
Let's see who could win or winner chicken dinner. Let's see who could win this. Yeah.
Yes or no now? Yes or no? Did this album even make the top 500 of Martin Pop Art's book?
This one, I would say yes, probably in the low 400s.
I would have to agree.
Okay, let's have a look. It actually did make the book number 329.
Okay, I'm a little close, off by 100.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it made the list personally. So
I am too, because it was such a,
Guys, I was working at a record store when this album came out, and it really did not excite anybody. You know, I didn't see people running in like they ran in to buy Guns N' Roses, Use Your Illusion, or, you know, the bigger albums.
Because it was a side thing, man.
Yeah. It was not really. I saw it on the shelf there, and there was no takers. But I would put it on, and I would love it. It was a great album at the time, so, and still is.
That's one of my, out of this whole list that we have, that's by far one of my favorites on the whole list.
Melissa says I would have put it way higher on the list. Exactly. Yes. Is it time now to play the new intro to the Metal Voice?
Sure.
Oh, you got a new intro?
Yeah. Let me just
a new, or just an old new?
Well, a new. Okay. I don't know if you guys could hear it, but I'm gonna play it. Oh, maybe it's not working.
It didn't work last time.
Okay. Well, we'll get back to that.
That sounds amazing.
I heard it before.
It's stuck. Okay, forget it. Forget it. We'll get back to that. Okay.
We're at number 6, and I would have put this album a lot higher on the list.
Okay, let me get the graphics here. Hold on. Let's get this here. Hold on. Okay. Now
I have to admit before we say who it is, that I really don't know this band's music. I've seen some videos, but I just don't know the band well enough to chime in too much. Sorry, guys.
No, it's all good. Angra Angels Cry, again from Brazil.
Great singer, great guitar player, who's now in Megadeth, but the singer passed away, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he did. Yep.
Right. R.I.P. Andre Matos.
It's Halloween. It's sort of Halloween meets Brazilian tribal beats.
It's Avantasia and Edguy before Avantasia and Edguy.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this is and this is their first album, and it was actually recorded in Kai Hansen's studio in Germany. So there's a Halloween sort of edge to it, or era, not a sort of flavor to it. It's an incredible album. They do a cover of Kate Bush's "Wuthering Heights," which is it's just a great cover. You don't even realize that it's a cover. That's how great it is. Alan, what do you want to say? Sorry.
Oh no, man! This is like right in my wheelhouse. As you know, I'm a huge fan of Avantasia and Edguy, and it's funny, if I would have discovered this band in '93, what my take would have been. But like I said, I just adored this album, listening to it for this list, and I would have put it a lot higher on the top 10. And just Andre Matos' voice, unbelievable. I wanted to get Todd's feedback on what he thinks of this vocalist.
It's a great song.
Well, the stuff that I saw on YouTube. He was a great singer, and he was a young guy. You know, he wasn't like an old guy. He was, I don't know, probably the stuff that I saw, maybe like late 30s, early 40s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, because my wife's the one who showed me them. She was like, "Oh, do you know about this guy? Oh, it's my buddy Brian who sings for Trauma."
Nice. Hey, Brian.
And so yeah, I was impressed. I was very impressed. But you know, there's so many bands that I haven't really dug deep enough into their music to,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
This was Frank saying, I was working at HMV downtown Montreal in 94 and kept talking about Angra while the rest of the staff was all about Nine Inch Nails. Which again is a reflection or that's what it was like back then, right? Nobody was really
Right.
talking about power metal or anything of that matter of metal, right?
Mhm.
Again, one of those bands that are kind of coming up, a little unknown, that are taking over, that are making sure the the flame still lives. And I mean, I'm anxious to get to the late 90s with bands like Iced Earth and Demons and Wizard, not Demons and Wizard, but Blind Guardian. And these are guys that they struggled, and they kept the flame going. So.
And I like this comment here. TMC says, I look at Al and I just want to cuddle him.
He's
like
looking
that
for
comment.
love in all the wrong places. He's looking for love.
That's that old Cheech and Chong joke. Why does the cowboy have crap on his mustache? Because he was looking for love in all the wrong places. Remember that? Cheech and Chong, guys, not me. Cheech and Chong from the 70s.
Oh my gosh. dude.
Anyways, great album, Angra Angels Cry.
Great album.
Pick it
I mean,
up,
I-
have a listen. Yeah.
This should have been higher. Should have been. Jimmy, since it's your list, I'm just telling you your
It's
list.
not, it's
you should
not
have put
my
this
list,
higher.
it's our list that I decided to make.
Okay, so here we go, guys.
Wait. Real quick.
Yes.
Somebody said
Hmm.
we got to find the comment. The guy tried to define heavy metal.
Oh, okay.
He said, "Oh, there's two
Movement
people."
for the outsiders. It
Hold
spoke
on.
to the people who became disconnected to the drab, boring scene of the popular music and force-fed AOR music of the mid to late 70s.
Here's another one from Roy Douglas. Heavy metal is the natural progression of Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, Bach, and Wagner, except instead of an orchestra, you have guitars, bass, drums, and a singer who can shatter glass and make ears bleed.
That's good. I like it.
It's good,
Okay,
but
that's
here's
a
the
good one.
flaw in that.
Singers. It could be
Arch
different
Enemy.
singers.
I mean, any band that's just guttural.
Yeah.
So, I mean, now you're saying, well, are they a singer or they're a vocalist?
If heavy metal was
Because
a
these
lowering
bands,
club,
these bands today that are like metal, they're not singers. Sorry, if they are singers, they're not singing. They're vocalizing. That's not singing. There's no note there. I can record that and blow it up on a WAV file, and you can't find the note. There's no real note there. It's a mixture of all these things.
That's a good point,
So
actually.
that's another thing. It's like you say, well, I remember when heavy metal like had singers. Now everybody's just doing gutturals, while albeit it takes a certain amount of technique and there's a lot to it. It can't be harder than singing because there's 1,000 bands, there's a gazillion bands just screaming.
Well, in the 70s and 80s, there were such great singers that if you weren't in a band with a great singer, you
You weren't
basically
going anywhere.
weren't signed.
Bingo.
Period.
I think there's even better singers in the 80s for the metal scene, is what I'm saying. Maybe the songwritings in the 70s were stronger, but in the 80s.
I would compare death metal vocals to taking a guitar and just removing all the strings and having one string and just like twanging it and then saying I'm a guitarist. You know, that's the
why
equivalent.
I call them vocalists and not singers.
And yeah, I get that. Yeah. And it makes sense. It makes sense. You know, it's easy to vocalize, but it's really hard to sing.
Yeah, and Lori, hi, she's saying, "Are you working on your second solo album?" Yes, and then I also have another thing I'm doing that's melodic death black metal. Speaking of gutturals,
Yes.
it's all pretty much like my bonus track, One by One. It's all like that, but heavier, or as heavier.
So when can we expect the second solo album?
You don't have enough going on, Todd.
Yeah.
You know what? There was a comment saying, is Todd going to go on a solo tour ever?
Eventually, yeah, definitely we'll do. It's hard to define tour because
Shows.
Yeah,
Shows.
yeah, I'll definitely play some live shows on my own stuff.
All right, cool. All right.
So-
I mean, you're busy with Queensrÿche, yeah. Of
Yeah.
course.
If heavy metal was a lollipop, would you lick it? That's all I need to know.
Daily.
So Angra comes in at number 252, boys.
That's
Wow.
it. See? I knew the list. I built
Very
this
good.
list. This is a
Very good.
built to list. Okay, here we go. Now we're moving up to number 5.
This is all you, Jimmy.
It's all you, Jim. You take over the
it's
I
rest.
mean,
me.
you made the list. We're just guests.
Guys, we all made this list. We all signed off on
you
this list,
kidding?
we shall say. Signed off on this list. Motorhead Bastards, this is an album that really under the radar. But when you put it on, you say, this might be one of their best. I Am the Sword.
What?
On Your Feet or On Your Knees, Born to Raise Hell, Don't Let Daddy Kiss Me, which is a song about, incest. But he touches on those subjects in a very sort of, let's make people aware these things are happening. Bad Woman, Boogie Woogie, and Liar. What a great album. And it was an album that was released that it did go under the radar. It was not this major album release
Dude,
at a time when...
everything went under the radar except for like Pantera and Korn when they came out, which that'll come later. But otherwise, all the bands that were dominating, it was like, even though they were working just as hard and trying and doing everything, it was like they were just smoke screened with Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains. I love Alice in Chains, and that whole thing. So,
And look at this. Carlos says Mickey D does a great job on that album, and yes, he does.
he's a killer drummer and a super
Killer
nice
drummer.
guy.
Alan, you're a Motorhead fan. I'm
I'm a
surprised.
huge Motorhead fan. For me, these are a little bit of the dark years. I guess the record company, they had their manager was their record company at one point as well. So the president of the record, which is never a good thing. And, for me, this was the low period of their career. It's not one of their strongest albums as far as I'm concerned, but, does it deserve to be on the list? It's your call, Jim.
I would say I Am the Sword might be one of my favorite Motorhead songs of all time. It's so Lemmy. It's so Lemmy, and it's such a great song. It's so melodic. But anyways, that's what I think. Do you agree, everybody out there, that Bastards should be on this list? Yes or no? Did it make the book there? I just forgot. Alan, was it in the book?
Nowhere to be found in the book.
Oh, Jesus. Jesus. Jeez, it didn't make the
Which
list.
proves my point. So
I'm curious. I mean, but of the Motorhead things, surely Motorhead's in the book, and I'm wondering what the highest ranking is for Motorhead anywhere in the book.
all right,
Okay.
just
All right,
because
so-
you asked, Todd, we're gonna find out right.
But
now.
as you
Right
look for
now.
that, Carlos is saying yes, it should be. Electric Circus says yes.
Right now. Well, obviously,
Suzette says
Ace of
yes.
Spades is their highest.
Yeah, it's
And it
it's a
came
number
in
that
at
beats the
number-
Motorhead. Yeah.
This is a little disappointing. It came in at number 43.
That's good.
That's very good.
That's
very
the
good.
highest charting Motorhead album in the Martin Popoff Bible.
I met Lemmy one time. It was at the Golden Gods Awards in LA, right when I got in the band. I think right after the first record I did with the band. And he was standing over at this high top bar table and smoking. I think somebody was next to him. And Scott said, "Oh, there's Lemmy. Do you want to?" I was like, "Yeah, let's go over and say hi." And said hi. And he was very low key, friendly, but maybe kind of wanted to be to himself a little bit. So it really didn't bug him much. But met him, took a picture with him. It was really cool. He was very nice.
The closest thing I got was I went to the Rainbow Bar and Grill and I just asked the owner. I go, "Is Lemmy here? Is Lemmy here? Is Lemmy here?" Sorry, he's on tour. That's all I got. So
Yeah.
he's always there.
Missed
But he
him
wasn't
by
there.
that much.
He wasn't there when I went. He wasn't there. I did see a statue though later on. Did you see a statue at the Rainbow Bar and Grill? They have this statue of Lemmy, and it's cool. All right, here we go.
All right. Let's
Number
see.
I like Bastards. I
You know
think it's a
what?
great album.
Can Alan do this one and I'll do number 3?
Sure.
Yeah, we'll give your
Alan,
voice a rest, Jim.
number 4. Here we go.
Number 4, Jimmy. Hey, hats off to you, buddy. We've been teasing you all show, but I'm glad I got to revisit this album. It deserves to be here, except objection overruled. You know, not my favorite Accept album, but it definitely deserves to be on this list. It's a strong, strong album, even though they went to one guitar. Wolf's the only one playing on it, and hey, for the time, man, on CMC International, there's a huge record label for you. It's like just a great album. It's a pleasure to listen to. Lots of good songs. Bulletproof, All or Nothing. Got that classic Accept sounding chorus. And I'm really glad you added it to the list, Jim, because it deserves to be there. So,
All right. I think it's one of my favorite Accept albums. I think it's super strong. It's a great album after Russian Roulette. And this is the first album, like sort of their reunion after sort of breaking up after something like 10 years or I don't know, 12 years, whatever it was. But it didn't, again, a great album, went under the radar because the big labels were only interested in Tool. That's it, just Tool. And that's that.
not Hootie and the Blowfish. We're not there yet.
When did Hootie start? When did Hootie start?
I only want to be with you.
All right, here we go. This is Todd's now.
Okay,
This
so
is
what number?
Todd. So
what number
Todd,
is this?
This is number 3.
3. We're in the top 3.
3.
Top 3. You ready? Tell me when.
Choice.
Now? There we go. Sabotage.
Yes.
Edge of Thorns.
Another Tampa, Florida band. Sabotage. This is the first album. It's their 7th record. It's the first release with Zach Stevens, who comes in on vocals. And dude, it's awesome. And it's one of these where it's like if you're a Sabotage fan and you love John Oliva, it's hard to have another singer come in. I mean, not that I would know anything about that, but it's hard for that, right? But John wanted that. So John brought him in. John Oliva brought Zach Stevens in. John's still writing all this music. And Edge of Thorns is just killer. That was a single that blew up. I still listen to that record. I still listen to that. Like probably a week ago, I was playing it, you know? So if you guys don't...
Because it was on the list.
No. I listen to this anyway.
There you go.
Okay.
So out of the Sabotage catalog, Todd, where would you put this album? The top 3, top 5?
I mean, it's hard to say, but for me, it's like, yeah, it's definitely top 5. You know, I mean, it's and Zach brought in a different vocal style. He wasn't trying to sound like John Oliva. You know, he had a different kind of vibrato. People might know him from the band Circle to Circle, which actually I was offered. So my friend Matt Laporte, who introduced me to the Crimson Glory guys, when I had my upholstery shop, he had a like a Camaro or a Firebird or something, and he needed work done in the car. I don't remember if it was the carpet or the headline, whatever it was. I did work for him on the car. He's like, hey, I'm like, so what are you doing? Who are you playing with now? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, there's this new band, it's a real quiet thing. And I was like, oh, cool. What's it called? He said, Circle to Circle. He said, Oliva wrote all the music. It basically sounds like Sabotage. And he goes, do you want to play rhythm guitar in the band? Because he knows I play guitar as a rhythm player. I'm not a solo guy. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what, you need a drummer? He's like, well, Zach already played the drums on the record. So the singer, Zach Stevens, is a drummer who turned singer. Zach's a really good drummer. He did all the drumming on the first record for Circle to Circle. And so that's my little side trivia for you is I was actually offered a rhythm guitar player spot in the very first incarnation of Circle to Circle. And I
cool.
respectfully declined it. But nevertheless, it was that Sabotage sound and people really loved it. And the song Edge of Thorns was a big, big popular hit for the band. And it was awesome. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of
Do you
that.
find there's a Queensrÿche vibe on that album?
I mean, maybe some of the maybe like certainly like the verses to the song Edge of Thorns, an
Hmm.
offering of reason, that whole delivery. I could see that being kind of Queensryche for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Especially that song.
yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I listened to it. For sure, I knew this album was going to make the top 10. There was no doubt about it. It was a little bit, for myself, I was a little disappointed. I found it a little too theatrical for me. I didn't
Okay.
know it was going to be that theatrical. It's a
Okay.
good album. I
Yeah,
enjoyed
sure.
listening to it. It's just that was my takeaway. I was surprised at certain songs how theatrical it was.
Yeah, like
What,
Damien is killer.
was Zachary the right choice? I mean,
I think so. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
I think so too.
I remember when I was doing work and I'd be working in my shop and I'd be singing these songs. I mean, you want to hear some high singing, like Halford metal high. Listen to the end of the song. Uh, I had to think of the name of the song. It's on this record, but at the very end, it's he goes into this really high, like I don't even know if I would have to be really ripe and singing well to hit what he's hitting on this
Yeah,
record. But
yeah.
I remember saying, man, if only like I knew Zach Stevens and somebody could hear what I can do, maybe I'd be able to get in on something cool. And now I know Zach. He's a really nice guy, and I respect his voice immensely. And he was totally the right choice.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And
Yeah.
Edge of Thorns, it probably in Canada, right, Alan? I don't know, man. I don't think it even made a dent. I mean, just the super underground folks.
Yeah, I remember seeing the cover at the Rock and Stock at one point.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what
Johnny
I'm
Lee
saying. It was
Middleton
very niche. Maybe because you're in Florida, Todd, and local band, more sort of airplay, more
Maybe
sort of
probably a little more
promotion,
local support.
right? Yeah. Versus, here we are in Canada. Yes, it was there. The album, you could probably pick it up.
Hold on.
But, one copy instead of 50. You know what I'm saying?
I want to hang on one second, guys. Let me see if it's the end of this song.
Johnny
Don't,
Lee
don't
Middleton
play
said,
it. Don't play it.
I'm not going to play it to give you a copyright. I'll mute my mic when I do. I'm going to mute my mic really quick.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so just talk amongst yourselves.
So Johnny Lee Middleton, talking about this album, said, we said to ourselves, what were our most popular records? Gutter Ballet and Hall of the Mountain King. So we should try to combine the two of them style-wise to see what we could come up with. That's how he's described Edge of Thorns. So
Frank is saying they headlined Toronto for Edge of Thorns. So there you go. But they were a popular band, nevertheless. They were a popular band. It's just there was no airplane.
Headline where?
There was no airplane.
Bob's Burger and Grill.
So it's track number 2, Carves His Stone.
Okay.
At the tail end of that song, he goes into some really high, kind of Halfordy type vocal delivery. It's badass.
All right.
Okay, so we know this album made the top 500. We know that's it comes in at number
Wait, let's guess.
267.
Oh,
The
what was
question
it?
for Todd is this the highest charting Sabotage album?
No.
No.
Okay.
The
No.
Mountain King.
I would say no, I would say maybe Streets. I'm gonna guess Streets. Yeah, well, it could be
Mountain
Whole
King.
Mountain King.
Yeah.
But
There you
I'm
go.
gonna-
Call of the Mountain King comes in at 97.
Streets.
Streets, a rock opera, comes
Yep.
in at number 227.
Wow,
Gutter Ballet comes in ahead. Gutter Ballet comes at
that's a
236.
single though. That's a single.
Edge of Thorns at 267. Sirens at 290. Power of the Night at 312. And even The Wake of Magellan
Magellan.
Magellan at 398.
Wow.
So the singles.
So that's the end of the.
Yeah.
Alan, is that for
Yeah.
you? Okay. Here we go. Number 2. Is everybody ready for number 2?
Are we on number 2 already?
We're on number 2 already.
Jeez.
And before number 1, we'll do our they should have been or they could have been.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Number 2. Here we are. And we'll look at that album cover. Hanging in the Balance, Metal Church. Mike Howe said to me, you know what, this band, things were going bad when this album came out. The music was great, things were going terrible, but once this album cover
Dude, he
was
hated it. He
given
wanted
to
out.
the band, he said it was over.
Yeah, that's
This
what he
cover ruined the band. Right, that was what it was, the last nail in the coffin of ruining the band. However,
we had some really good conversations, I just can't believe that the guy's gone. But yeah, he told me also, he's like, dude, when that album cover came out, showed us, he was just like,
Gonzo.
I can't do this. Keep talking. I'm gonna grab some orange juice.
All right, here we go.
Here, Jim, I have to say, again, kudos to you.
Ta-da.
Metal Church, as I've said in the past, the first album, yeah, okay, it was good. It was in there. The production, maybe not the strongest I found at the time. And then they throw a beer on me at the Metallica concert, right? So they just throw a beer. The singer throws a beer into the crowd, and I get soaking wet. So I'm not a big fan of it. But you guys have been chipping away. Every list, there's always a Metal Church. There's this one. I really enjoyed this album. I thought this was a great album. The album cover, apart
It's a
from
really
the
good
cover,
album.
The album is a very good album.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the cover just.
Look,
dude,
grunge, Metal Church had those first 3-4 albums. They're really taking off. They're doing well. Then grunge hits. Suddenly, they're the band's in shambles. There's arguing amongst the band. The album cover comes out. There's no support. The money's not going towards the band from the label. Things are falling apart. However, we got some good music. Gods of a Second Chance. What a song. Losers in the Game. Waiting for a Savior, another epic track, and No Friend of Mine. This album is full of amazing songs that kind of went under the radar, like most metal albums back then,
The problem is, like, you gotta just ignore the artwork, right? But the thing is, like, always had those metal covers, and then you get this cartoon, just ridiculous looking cover.
I like it, actually.
I think it sucks.
I like it, but I think at the time, if I was in the band, I wouldn't have liked it, right?
I mean, it just doesn't fit. It didn't fit the sound. So you're like, when you're going to the record, you're looking through records and you see that, you're not like, oh, I bet this sounds tough. You're just like, it was not even intriguing. It's not even like vague and mysterious. Like, oh, this is so esoteric and dark and I can interpret it. I mean, it's just like they just played off the lyric, the title, and they're like, let's come up with something that's out of the box. I mean, it was out of the box, but it just didn't fit Metal Church. I don't know.
Metal albums, today we find them sort of cute and weird, like, Bonded by Blood, right? Like Exodus, right? It's bizarre. But back then, when they were first released, it was like, what the hell's this? So I'm trying to say is that over time, we kind of appreciate the bad artwork because it was unique for its time and it sort of symbolized an era of when it came out, I get what the label wanted to do and I get why the band was frustrated, but I kind of like it. It's fun. It's a fun cover. I mean,
so here's a fun comment from Peter Christensen.
Mm-hmm.
Says Mike Howe was perhaps even better than Todd LaTorre. LOL.
Oh.
Sorry, close to my number one singer ever. And look, Mike Howe is one of my all-time favorite singers, so I totally get it. With that
Even
being
better,
said,
it's a compliment.
With that being said, when we shot the Fake Healer video together,
oh yes,
and I said to him, I go, dude, I always loved your voice. You had such an original, witchy kind of thing, and the way you
sinister, yes,
sinister, and every word would be like just so, he would have this bite and attack, and every word was like, yes, right? You don't get a lot of singers like that anymore. And I used to go, man, how do you do what you do? He would go, well, how do you do what you do? He's like, I can't do what you do. And I go, well, I can kind of do what you do, but not like you. I said, I'm just kidding, dude. I can't do what you do. You have your own thing. So he was one of my all-time favorite singers too, just like Peter. guy was awesome, and such a nice guy too. Okay, where are we at?
Number one.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're not going to go there yet.
Yeah, we're not going to go.
Let's just talk about quickly.
Get your honorable mentions, Jim.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about the albums that. Oh, you know what? I can't even find my list.
Well, you've got 7 versions of it.
Yeah, you were editing.
Well,
editing yourself.
I'll throw one out there. Mercyful Fate. Carlos said Mercyful Fate. In the Shadows. Guys, I think I was talking to Todd last week or the week before, and maybe your wife said, "What about In the Shadows?" And I go, I don't know if the guys are going to like me mentioning another Mercyful Fate album. But it is not one of my favorite Mercyful Fate albums. That's why In the Shadows is not on the list. I think it's okay. I just don't think it's top 10 worthy. So that's for me. Do you guys have any other ones?
Speaking of Mercyful Fate, I'm going to deviate for a second. You had Snowy Shaw on your show.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I got to meet him when we were playing in, where's he from? Sweden?
Yes, Sweden. Yeah.
Sweden.
Yeah, Sweden, yeah.
So we were playing up there, and he came into our dressing room, and like we got to meet. And he was such a cool guy. Like he was so nice, and I was like, "Holy shit, you're Snowy Shaw. This is awesome." He's a multi-instrumentalist. He's a really talented guy. I mean, dude, he sings great. He plays guitar. He's a killer drummer. Like this guy has the whole thing, right? He was such a nice guy. Speaking of Mercyful Fate, I had to acknowledge that you guys had him on the show, and what a really genuine good guy. Really.
And just as another side note, on In the Shadows, his picture is on the album as the drummer for Mercyful Fate. However, he did not perform on the album. Sort of like Tommy Aldridge and Rudy Sarzo on Diary of a Madman. Sort of like they were there for the photo shoot, but they didn't actually play on the album. So right. Snowy Shaw, yes. Snowy's pretty amazing, man. This guy is what a life story. He can do everything. It's just what a talent. Yeah,
he's a really cool guy. From I've watched interviews with him, and I've seen his performances like on YouTube and stuff.
He is Ghost before Ghost.
Right?
He is Ghost before Ghost.
And
maybe Alan doesn't know Snowy Shaw as much, but
only metal.
When he used to go on stage, he had the sort of like the ghouls, like Ghost has those hidden like guys with
right. They were wearing all these.
That's what Snowy had, and he had the face paint like Ghost. He had the melodic songs like Ghost. He was Ghost, and he's from Sweden. Like Ghost is from Sweden, so the connection's there. Somebody influenced somebody.
Yeah, only he can sound really brutal, and I love that he was doing the whole corpse paint there, the face paint.
The corpse paint, that's what I was going to say.
But with his like white hair, which looked even cooler because they always have jet black hair with the white, right? But him having like white, it wasn't even blonde. It was like
I am Snowy Shaw. Yes, cool dude, man.
Really cool guy.
Dude. So guys, do you have any albums that you thought could have made it or should have made it or honorable mentions? Dio Strange Highways. This is Jim Harrison saying Dio Strange Highways. Should that have made it, Alan? Should that have made it? Say it like it is.
I'm trying to look at other
too. I mean, everybody, like we said earlier. I mean, they were trying something different. It's not my favorite Dio. It's a good album, but I'll stick by your list, Jim.
Well, we talked about Death.
Yes, Death.
I thought that was going to make it. I thought
and you want to talk about like seriously complex stuff, dude.
Yes.
I mean, this band. I mean, just the first track. It's like the drumming is ridiculous, and it's like crazy. Fusion-y, progressive, the time signatures, it's pretty, it's extreme back then, dude. This was extreme music, and
Well, the thing about Death, and me and Todd talked about this in the past, is the vocals. Like the music is amazing, the guitar work, the drumming is insane, but when the vocals come in, it kind of like that's what always ruins it for me.
You know what? For me, what is when I get into a groove, and then it just changes too quickly, and then it's into something else, and then it changes too quickly again. It's like, Jesus. That's why, as much as I like prog music, I don't listen to prog very much anymore at all, because I'm just burned out with all this wanking and all this. Look at me, I'm such a virtuoso player. Like, yeah, okay, you're awesome. You're a technically awesome guitar player, drummer, blah, blah, blah. But that doesn't make good songs. And it's just boring. So for me, I don't really listen. If I'm going to listen to something prog, dude, I'll go back and listen to Emerson, Lake and Palmer or King Crimson or Rush. I like the new like any metal prog bands, tons of respect. As a listener, I am just not interested in hearing all this stuff anymore. I was a huge, I mean, still a big Dream Theater fan. And I was really into those beginning records of Dream Theater. And then there's another band called Von den Plas, which is great. And they're kind of like Europe's Dream Theater. But I'm so tired of hearing just all of this thing. I just want to hear good songs, man, without a gazillion changes and all this. Like, it's just boring.
Alan calls it Bumblebee.
It's just boring.
No, what I say is that not every song has to have 5 side trips, right? Or changes, as you refer to. Say, guys, you can go straight forward. You can still show how good your instrument. You can, like Rush, do 1 or 2, but you don't need every song to have 5 different, movements. It's just, it's like you said, it gets like, oh,
Tom
geez.
Sawyer, the song Tom Sawyer is
progressive.
It's progressive, but it's short enough and quick enough where you're not sort of bored, sort of, okay, I can play the drums for 10 minutes straight. No, it's got little drum patterns and fills that make it progressive, but they know when to quit.
Here's the other thing. The brilliance of a band like Rush, right? So you have the that's a 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. That's a 7 8 time. Okay, it doesn't feel forced on me because it's it doesn't feel. And then, or if you listen to Pink Floyd's like Money, right? That's an odd time signature. Then when it goes into the solo, 2 3 4 1 2 gets into a 4/4 swing. Then it's bow now now do.
That's the brilliance. That's the brilliance right there.
The brilliance is when you can do this where it's seamless instead of like instead of all these choking hard changes where you're like you feel blindsided by it. And I think that's the brilliance of why I love Rush. And why I really like the prog of Pink Floyd. It's more of a thought process and this fusion of cleverly bringing in maybe a different time signature. It's very blended very well. It's like seamless. And
Neil Peart could play drums, and he didn't need 10 minutes in a song to play drums, like just to show that he just integrated his drum patterns and his time signatures in the song so well that you didn't even know he was doing it in a sense.
And you know what? And there's things in that song, in Tom Sawyer, for example, right? I
was really getting into it now.
Everyone wants to air drum that.
You should have seen when they played YYZ. It's an explosion of your drummers are, air drummers all over the place. It's like
right. But you know what? To me, that is like when you can show the technicality, but it's still palatable to the average ear. But if you tried to like memorize a drum part for today's like prog stuff, dude, if you're not a musician, you're probably you're not gonna be able to. Never mind if you can play it, you can't even air drum the timing.
That's the definition of heavy metal. If you have to air drum, it's metal.
Like do. Everybody likes to air drum.
Anybody can air guitar to any song.
Can you air drum? Can you air drum?
But
I think Todd rules in air drumming. He's got his whole.
That's metal.
He's a drummer, so he can do it, right?
That's it.
I could only keep a 4/4 when I air drum.
Okay, guys, let's get the number one.
All right, hold on a second.
By the way, Death made number 228, Mr.
Individual thought
patterns,
Yeah.
228.
All right, so I got to say also Voivod. These are the local guys from Montreal. Outer Limits. It's just, for me, they're one of my favorite bands. A big nod to them. This was their progressive album. They do a Pink Floyd song, The Nile, on it. They do have like a 10-minute song, but they're another type of band. Odd time signatures. Tritones on the guitar. They make it palatable. But because it was 1993, under the radar. So I recommend everybody go pick up Voivod's Outer Limits. Great. And Jack Luminous, what a fantastic song on that album. I know Alan's a big Voivod fan, but I'm a bigger one. Okay, here we go. You guys ready for this? Oh, before we do the last one, everybody out there, toss out maybe an album we forgot before we go to number one.
There's been a few, Jim.
Well, throw them out there. Typo Negative. Guys, what do you think about Typo Negative?
Gamma Ray, Riot Nightbreaker.
That's
This
it?
guy says, I'm not a musician, but I am a metal fan and love when Dream Theater shows off. Look, I like it too. As a fan and just a listener of music, I find myself tuning out of, and I'm not isolating Dream Theater. I know the guys. I think they're badass. They're amazing. Like, they don't make a wrong note. You're not going to hear
James Labrie interview coming up, Alan. James Labrie.
Yeah.
Coming up.
But
Coming up next week.
as a fan
Coming
of
up
that,
next
as
week.
a fan, my tastes have changed where, again, total respect, but as a listener, I'm kind of not in that headspace anymore.
All right, I'm going to call out some albums here.
Okay, Frank Podman says Carcass Heartwork.
Nuclear Assault.
Nuclear Assault, Something Wicked.
Somebody
Lion's
says
Heart.
Blue Murder, Nothing But Trouble.
I think Lion's Heart, the self-titled, that's the Steve Grimmett one, right, Alan? Lion's Heart self-titled?
Could be, I don't know.
Paradise Lost.
Frank Podman, Carcass Heartwork, number 66 out of the top 500. So we might have missed one, guys.
Overkill, what's the album called again? I just forgot. But Annihilator, Set the World on Fire, from Canada. Great band. It's a great album too. And I think it would have been number 11 if I was in charge of the list.
And we'll mention Paradise Lost as well.
Yes, Paradise Lost. Yes.
All right, let's get to number one. I'm
All right,
hungry.
man, I think Alan's hungry. I hear Black is
Some
overkill.
nachos ready for me.
You know, it's funny. I ate before the
Amazing,
show
blah, blah, blah.
because, see, that's what I got to do. I pee before the show and I eat before the show, so I'm prepared.
Normally I eat during the show, but I'm not.
Yeah, we're disappointed. We're disappointed.
And you know what? Some guests of ours peed during the show as well.
Hold on.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Hold on.
I'll be right back.
All right.
What do we got?
What do we got today? Feta.
Real feta.
Did you like the feta in Montreal?
Watch this. My wife's going to be pissed. I'm not even going to eat it with a fork.
Yeah, he's gonna put it back in the fridge now.
Don't worry, we won't tell her. We won't tell her.
I'm going to
We
put
won't
the
tell
lid-
her.
Look,
Hope she doesn't watch the show.
I got
Nobody
the lid
say
back on it.
anything.
It's going back in the fridge right now.
Now grab the milk and do the same thing.
You want to see how much of a heathen I am?
There you go. That's it. That's what it is. Go. Wash it down.
Oh,
Wash it down.
does she watch this show, Todd?
Never.
She doesn't watch the show. Okay, good. We're good. Shh, nobody tell her. Okay, here we go.
Hear that, eh?
All right, add that in.
Can we get
All
to
right.
number one, Jim?
Number one.
Okay. Number one. Let me get the graphics ready. Of course, it had to be John 5. No. Here we go. Anthrax, Sound of White Noise. Here we go. Sound of White Noise. Boom. What a great album that is. What a great album. And here's the difference between this album and all the other ones. They hit the mark in terms of music, right? Production, sound, songs. And they also did well on the charts during this era, which a lot of metal bands didn't. They could have even done better if they had more label support. But John Bush comes in, kicks it into gear, and suddenly you've got one of the greatest Anthrax albums ever made, next to Fistful of Metal. Guys?
I think you just have to listen to the song only to see what John Bush brings to this album. So, again, I'm Joey Belladonna. I love him, but this is a completely another notch up on the Anthrax.
When we had Armored Saint tour with us, we would do a sound check, and I knew he was in the building. I'd go, "Everything is perfect." I would start singing only, right? And he would always get a kick out of it. And I think I've told you this before, dude. Before I ever met John Bush, we played with Death Angel and Armored Saint. We had like five or six shows in Europe that we played together. And I was like, dude, this is awesome. I'm going to meet John Bush, like a massive John Bush fan. I'm kind of geeked out, right? And they're in the adjacent, we're sharing a wall, 2 dressing rooms. And I hear him going, yeah. He's doing all his warm-up stuff, and he's belting it like, dude, like he's screaming at someone across the street. This guy's voice is so powerful. And I was like, holy shit, does this guy really sing like this on stage? I would be blown out in 2 nights, like one night. And what a performer. This guy just gives it everything he's got, and he just looks badass. And that guy's voice is very, again, talking about these unique voices, right? You hear John Bush and you know John Bush's voice. So even though he sounds nothing like Belladonna, I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
Are you the same height as John Bush, Todd?
Yeah, we have to be.
So you see eye to eye.
Bad joke, Alan. Here's the tall guy, ripping on the.
You are, hold on. You are tall. I didn't know you were that tall.
Interviewed John, and I met you, and I think you guys.
Yeah,
in my mind, you're
what is that? What is that?
Yeah, pick on somebody your own size.
The giant is telling us this.
No, he was. Alan is very tall. What are you, like 6'3"?
No. I'm barely 6 foot tall.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Must have been those high heels you had on.
Yeah, it was my stilettos.
I met John Bush. John Bush is probably one of the nicest people you can.
He's
ever
a
meet.
super nice guy, and he still sounds amazing. So, and you know what? Joey Belladonna still sounds. I think Joey Belladonna sounds better now.
I agree.
And even back then, like his vibrato is more vibrato-y. Yeah. And the guy hasn't aged a bit. I mean, he still has like the metal bangs and the long black hair, and he still looks the same. He doesn't aged a bit. But yeah, I love this record. I thought it was, although I was like, Anthrax got another singer and this and that, but it was John Bush, and I was like, okay, I'm really interested in what this sounds like, and the music was killer.
Yeah, well, this is my life with Anthrax. Fistful of Metal comes out, and I love it. I get the album. I love it. I love everything about it. Neil Turbin rules. This is the best thing ever. 1984. And then I find out they got a new singer. And I was kind of turned off at the time. And I tried. And my friends really liked Anthrax. And I just could not get into it. It was kind of like Bruce Dickinson light in a sense, Joey, right? Back then. And then I got into the band again when John Bush fronted the band. And then when John Bush fronted the band, I went back to the Joey era and I started appreciating what happened there. So it was a very strange journey for me with Anthrax.
You know, it's funny, Jim. I bought the first Anthrax. I think I might have been the first guy in Montreal to buy the first Anthrax. And then I never bought another Anthrax album until Worship Music. But through my good friend Stiff Rod, who Todd had the pleasure of meeting, he was a huge Anthrax fan. He'd have all the albums, so I got to hear Spreading the Disease and Among the Living and everything else afterwards, Persistence of Time, and all through Stiff Rod. So
good old Stiff Rod.
Yeah.
So is this the top charting Anthrax album in the top 5? We know it made the top 500. But is it rated yes or no the top Anthrax album?
Among the Living is the top one. Fistful probably is up there too, and Spraying Disease, yes, definitely. This is up there, and this is probably at 300, 3 at 25.
Jim, you're right that Among the Living is the top-rated Anthrax album.
Mm-hmm.
Among the Living comes in at number 49, and this album, Sound of White Noise, comes in at number 104. So
is
barely,
Fistful there?
almost
Fistful?
broke the top 100.
Fistful of Metal, is it there, Alan?
I can check, Jim. Check.
I have a feeling it's there.
Anthrax, Fistful of Metal, yes, 343. It's the lowest charting Anthrax album on the list.
Still, there you go. That's our top 10 list.
Here's our top 10.
1993. I don't know. I haven't looked at 1994 yet. I'm kind of
Let us
wondering
know.
what it's.
Let us know what your choices are.
I'll send you the list. You can approve it. You can sign off on it. I was really happy because it wasn't much back and forth like usual. All I got was, Jim, do whatever you want. I don't care.
Jim, you were debating yourself for 7 different versions.
I sent Todd the list. He goes, okay. I sent him another list. He goes, okay. I sent him another list. He goes, okay.
Yeah,
Alan just didn't want to do the show. Alan didn't want to do the show. He wanted to do 94. He wanted to skip 93.
I have to see what 94 had to offer, but dude, it gets tough.
Slim pickings. Slim pickings.
Right. Okay.
So really quick, somebody asked me, I know Alan's dying to go get his nachos, but somebody asked me if I ever checked out the band Bolt Thrower, and I did, and I hate to say it, but I just wasn't feeling it. My apologies to you, bud, but wasn't really digging it at all.
Look, we all, at the end of the day, we all have our own little tastes.
We all have our own things.
That's
yeah,
it. It's
not my cup of
subjective.
tea.
This, even though this is the Metal Voice, and the Metal Voice lists are the defining lists of each era, that is true. People are allowed to be like what they like, even though.
I mean, look, I'm just being honest. I could be like, oh yeah, I thought they were great, and play that whole. I'm not gonna BS it. It's like, nah. Either I just don't like it, or it's like, eh. Yeah.
Well, if there's one guy that can vouch for that, is definitely me, because I got trashed on a lot of lists in the 80s.
Well, here's a great Todd. Thank you for being so generous with your time. We all adore you on the Metal Voice.
Awesome, thank you. I'm thankful to you guys for having me on your show, and thanks for showing the support for my album, wearing the shirt, and I got my Metal Voice shirt on.
Look at that. That's a
Got a
great
rip,
shot
you know.
right there.
Here's your chance, Todd. What can we expect? What do you want to plug? This is a great opportunity here.
For what?
For whatever's going on in your life besides upholstery.
Oh, what do I want to plug? Like a band?
No, whatever's, we spoke about the opening for Sammy Hagar at a festival. You got the album's coming along. You said it was mastered when we saw you about a month ago.
It's all done. Yeah, all the cover art, everything's done. It's I think going to manufacturing like ASAP.
That's amazing.
We got a lot of video. We got videos in the works. We've got new photo shoots that we did. I'm home until the 27th, and then we fly out and play a show, and then I'm home for a little bit, and then we're out. So we have some more fly dates, and then we'll have a lot of touring coming up later in the not too distant future, and honestly, like next year is already looking booked for.
Wow, nice.
I think we have pretty much the whole year already planned out. So yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, we've been super busy, super busy. So hopefully, when the record comes out, everybody likes it, and yeah, we're doing a lot of gearing up for all the album promo stuff. And then when that's done.
So it's 2022, right? The album's going to be in 2022. That you could confirm. I know I don't want to push you, before, it's time. But 2022. We could say 2022.
Yeah.
We could say 2022.
Yeah.
Early 2022 or later on 22. Mid 2022.
I thought you were going to push me. So yeah, so all that's going really great with the band, and then I'm gonna start. You know, I've got my own side, not the follow up to my first record, but like a side thing that I'm doing. Yep, some of that, and then Craig and I are starting to
Nice.
write some riffs. He came over recently, and I said, "You got any new ideas? Let's hear them." And he played some ideas on his phone, and so that's starting to kind of happen. You know, we're the beginnings of some new guitar riffs and some song ideas. So
Why do you find I don't want to turn this into an interview, but why do you find that you need to go into this sort of like the aggressive black death metal? And it does there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just saying is this something in you that you said, you know what, I always wanted to do what he's
it's really fun because there's an attitude. There's a thing that you can do with that vocal. Look, there's an attitude that you're just not going to get otherwise. It would be like having a very clean singer and then having somebody like a John Bush with this rasp, and you say that clean singer is never going to deliver that line with the and the attitude that a singer like John Bush has, because it's just so clean and pretty. So imagine if John Bush were the clean and pretty, and then the next heavier version of that would be what I'm talking about. Kind of like Behemoth or something like that. But I may play all the guitars on it, and do the drums, and actually the person that's playing bass on that stuff is my friend Mia, who plays with Abath, and and she plays in Nervosa, and so yeah, so right now it's just me writing my own songs and doing that, and then I have another friend named John, who played keys, doing all this kind of atmospheric pad, some cool string stuff on the keyboards for this music this other side thing I'm talking about. But I'll do like a full-blown legit follow-up to the first record, and hopefully we can write songs that are as good or better than those, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
Just on a side note, Destruction came here with Nervosa, and they asked me if we wanted to do an interview, but I had COVID. That was like 2 weeks ago.
How are you feeling now?
Oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine now. I fell down the stairs, but I'm okay. Alan, I fell down the stairs. What are you, drunk? What was that? But you don't drink. What's going on with you?
He doesn't drink, so I don't understand.
So somebody, Eric, I guess that's a clever way to write the word name, Eric. Yeah. I'll be seeing her with Nervosa this Sunday with Destruction. So I'm curious what city that's in, because I just talked to her yesterday, and it was their day off in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
I was hoping I could maybe go to the Georgia show, but I fly out that day.
Oh, okay.
So but anyway, yeah, we're glad that you're feeling better. That's
I have a bruised rib, and let me tell you, the worst.
Does it hurt when you laugh? Does it hurt when you laugh?
Not anymore. Me and Alan were doing an interview last week, I guess. I don't remember when our last interview was. Whatever it was. Gore. Anyways, whenever I laugh or sneeze or I cough,
sneeze. It
was like pain you've never felt before. Now it's died down. It's kind of come down. But let me tell you, man, it was brutal. Your rib cage, man, just the simple cough.
Yeah.
And you're screaming in pain.
That sucks, dude. I have not had COVID yet. I've had all 3 vaccinations. Mm-hmm. I wear even though you don't have to wear masks on planes anymore, we all wear them. And you know what? I just feel when somebody's like, and they sneeze, and all I can think of is all this particles in the air, and then I'm like,
goblets,
yawning and sucking in all this. So I feel so much better having a mask on, even just without COVID. People are coughing and sneezing, and it's like, I don't want any part of that. So we always wear them. We still don't do meet and greets. I don't know when that's going to come back for us.
What do you think about this plastic? Alan, are you good with time, or you have to go eat?
It depends where you're going with it.
I see these plastic plexiglass meet and greets. I find it what Kiss was doing, and I'm
I've
like,
never seen that.
and I go, I just kind of like, I don't know, man. It's just, it's not what, if I'm going to pay for a meet and greet, which I really don't, but if I was, I don't know if I'd want a plexiglass aquarium meet and greet. It's just weird. And
I'm
I get
sure
it from
Todd can
artists.
expand upon this more, but if I'm in the, the band's got commitments lined up for months and months, and now all of a sudden you want to greet the fans, but if you're shaking or touching people and you're exposed to X amount of people,
I get it.
extra per day, extra,
Yeah.
you got commitments down the road. You got to be a little cautious. But again, Todd's the touring musician.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, when you have shows booked out and flights paid for all these shows ahead of time that we've paid for, if I get sick or Michael or any one of us gets sick, those are canceled. And not only that, but there are concert goers that will make travel arrangements. Maybe they're out of town and they drove 6 hours, or they've got a hotel booked. So there's a lot of things, not just the band that could be inconvenienced by this, but there are a lot of other people that have made a lot of arrangements and plans to go to this show. So as much as like, this sucks, I drove all the way out here and I had a hotel booked, and well, fuck you, because we just lost tens of thousands of dollars. So like, you're not the only one that lost money here. Like, but sometimes you see some people that are like pissy with the band, and you're like, you think this, not us. I'm not talking about us, but it's like, you think that band was happy that they had to cancel that show? Believe me, they weren't. And so the best thing we can do, yes, is stay away from that as much as possible.
Yeah.
And we on the Priest tour, we COVID tested after every day off, and we had to test negative before we could even go into the venue. So if I see Rob Halford eating at dinner, I know that everyone in this building has tested negative. And not only that, you had to show, I think when we started the tour, we had to show them that we were vaccinated. That was a big deal. And so I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that you had to be vaxxed and you had to do the negative, the rapid testing.
Yeah.
But it's how we earn a living, and nobody wants to get sick.
And you know what? I remember, so Montreal was one of the last dates, and I don't know if it was you or I can't remember who said it. Maybe Michael. I'm not sure. We had a very safe, COVID-free sort of journey. So you guys were successful. You guys were hardcore about.
Nobody got it.
Nobody got it. So you guys were hardcore about it, and that's great, and that's fantastic. One last thing. Alan, you still have time?
Well, it depends where you're going, Jim.
Bon Jovi. And me and Todd were talking about this.
That's a long conversation.
Well, I mean, this is like. And I think me and Todd are kind of see eye to eye on this. Like, I'm watching these videos of Bon Jovi, and I see people picking on him, and I'm not a big fan of Bon Jovi by any means, but he's having some issues there. Like, there's some serious vocal issues, and it doesn't seem like it's a typical burnt out voice. It seems like, I don't know. Does he continue?
Last night, and it's a good point. It's they said it might be affected by hearing loss, a certain hearing loss. Because if
now, Todd, if you don't want to comment, don't worry about it. I mean, it's all good, man.
I'll give you my 3 cents.
Okay.
From what I can see and hear, he's obviously having issues. That being said, who knows what kind of health thing he may be going through. Who knows? We just don't know what's going on personally. If it's other than just like, oh, my voice is worn out. From what I'm seeing and hearing, it sounds like way more than that. But I don't know. And as much as these people will say, oh, this guy's voice is done, he should just quit, he's ruining his legacy. At the same time, this is a very altruistic guy. He's a philanthropist. He is employing a lot of people, and those people's paychecks that they're earning from these tours are feeding their families. They are paying their mortgages. It's keeping them employed. This guy donates a shit ton of money to good causes and charities. He has soup kitchens. I mean, the guy does a lot. And my thing is, like, look, if you want to criticize him, that's your right. But people are still showing up, and the videos are out there. So if somebody still wants to go support him, be like, dude, that's John Bon Jovi in the flesh, and I don't care if he's not singing like he used to sing. And they don't really care. That guy's
No,
still putting a smile on it. He's smiling and he's going out there. He has to know that he doesn't sound great. But I really like John Bon Jovi as a human being. He seems like a really great guy, and he's given these people the best of his voice for 30, 40 years,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. I mean, cut the guy some slack. Be thankful you can still see him in person while you can.
Yeah, yeah.
So, as much as people want to criticize, the fact is he's a human being. We don't know what he's going through, if any. And just don't go to the show if you don't like it. But to sit there and really trash the guy publicly, I think is not cool. But
Okay.
arenas full of fans, right? He's playing arenas, and you
Yeah.
watch the videos. I don't think there's too many people complaining. Everybody's having a great
I
time.
mean, they'll be like, "Oh, this is sad. I really," but you know what? They're singing along right with him, and he's there in front of them, and it is what it is. But I just think
He could use
people,
backing tracks, and he doesn't. Right? He goes, screw it.
you
I'm gonna.
know, I saw one video, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I saw one video where he was on stage, and as he was walking this way on stage, he had his hand up in the air like this,
Mm.
and he's kind of, this is what you see, and he's kind of going, your love is like bad medicine. And then when he turns, he changes the mic. It's kind of, it almost, the comments were that, oh, maybe he's guarding his voice, and he would turn around and sing some of the higher stuff and look at the drummer a lot. He was very kind of like this. So, and the voice sounded better than the stuff that didn't sound so great. And people were saying, I think he might be using some live tracks from other shows. And I don't really know. I'm not going to
You know
sit here
what?
and
I'm
say
gonna end it off.
I
I'm gonna
don't
end it
know.
off here. Like in the olden days, and we'll call it the olden days. We'll say the 70s and 80s. Labels would support tours. Bands wouldn't have to worry about this financial burden as much. Costs were a lot lower. Gas was like nothing. There was less stakes. Like Robert Plant would go on stage, butcher a few songs, get off stage. There was less stakes. Today, the stakes are high, right? Gas prices are off the charts. Unions and, production teams and all that, you have to perform, right? You gotta perform, or there's a lot of money at stake, and that's your bottom line if you
That's the
miss a few shows.
hard. Somebody asked me, what would you do, Todd? I've been in this predicament before. The only thing is, I didn't have, you know, 7 semi trucks and 50 crew guys, and but it was still relative to Queensrÿche. So there were times where I would get a sinus infection, and um, and I sounded like this, and so I'm going into the eyes of a stranger. It was like Barry
Wait a
White.
second, you sound like Jeff Tate there.
Yeah, it was really tough because people, that people want to hear the range, and they want to hear it sung the way that it really goes. And there was nothing I could do. And it was like right when I got in the band too. And we played the show in Oregon, and that was 2 nights. And then Pamela Moore came out, I think the second night, and joined us. And that's when I knew that first night toward the end, something was going wrong.
Oh,
Sure enough, I had a sinus infection, and we ended up canceling the second night. And the band lost a lot of money. And there were a lot of people that traveled to go see the show, and it was like a new singer of the band, and Pamela Moore was going to be singing with us, and it was like really cool. I would never, as much as I would hate for people to lose income and not get their money, I will not sit there and lip sync a show just so that the show can go on. I mean, Rob Halford canceled that show in Massachusetts,
right.
and he could have just phoned it in on tracks if they have them, and he could have done the show, and everyone would have been paid. Nobody would have even known shit anyway, but he didn't, and that says a lot. And so for me, I would rather either sound like crap and do it for real than fake it and sound good and know that it's not me, because I don't know, man. I'm just too proud. I'm just too proud. And I think
I would, if I was a singer, I would do the same thing. Yeah. It's all or nothing. Yeah.
And
I think Bon Jovi's too proud too, in a sense, because he goes, I'm going to go up there.
Dude, that's a lot of pressure, because your voice, right? And you're in different climates all the time. You're on a bus with a lot of people that can get sick, and there's pollen and pollutants and sneezing and shaking and hands and different climates. And then your altitude is you're over 5,000 feet and it's dry, and I would blow my nose and blood's coming out of my nose because it's so dry.
Right.
And then it sucks. People have no idea. It's like, you're singing your best day in your shower in the car, or like, oh, I could do that. Why would he sounds awful. It's a whole different ball of wax when you're a touring vocalist.
I agree, man. That pressure is just, I don't think anybody could understand that pressure unless you're sitting in the singer. Guitars, you could swap them out. Oh, I broke my arm, bring in another guitarist. Drummers could be swapped out.
The voice is different.
Voice is different. You just can't have another singer one night.
Somebody was saying, when I called out that asshole journalist from Texas, he was like, oh, this guy's, using tracks, and I know enough to know when I hear tracks. And I'm like, first of all, no, I'm not. Second of all, like when we would do Enforcer, I'd go, Enforcer, I would hit the high octave, and then our sound guy throws the delay. So by the time I'm going the high note, my mic's away, and you still hear the trail of Enforce. They think that I'm faking it. And I'm like, dude, I could sing it right to you. Acapella.
James Labrie, he said the same thing. He kind of like,
these people don't know anything. They don't know anything.
He got mad, and you know what? We will be interviewing James Labrie about this next week. And also, don't forget to watch Blothar from Glore. Lothar from Glore.
I saw a piece of that, and he talked about his drapes behind him
in Antarctica.
Well, listen, guys, thanks for having me. And
I'm going to leave. Here's the last quote. You want it? This is what defines metal. You hear it? It's from K-Man, all right? And we're going to leave.
From who?
From K-Man.
Okay.
K-Man Reborn. This is the quote that we wanted to define metal today. Metal is about being real.
Dolly Parton's real.
She's metal. Metal here.
She's rock and roll.
Yeah, apparently.
It's a tough thing. You can't nail it down in a sentence, man. You just can't.
Thank you, everybody. Watching.
Thank you, guys. Alan, good to see you, buddy. Jimmy, I'm glad you're feeling better.
I'm glad you're doing well.
Yes, sir. I think I'm going to make some portobello mushroom and asparagus on my grill right now.
There you go.
All right, guys. Have yourself a nice night.
Okay.
All right. Thanks again.
Bye, everyone.